this is probably the most important thing that I'm going to say to you, to share with you this morning. When looking at candidates for employment, we look at work habits and behaviors. Work habits and behaviors are so important. And these are called competencies. So I'm just going to run through some of the competencies we look at. So emotional intelligence. And this is really important for you all. And competencies are something that you all can work on right now. And in your school, you can work on your competencies. And these are probably the most important thing if you want to get a job. If you don't have competencies, you're going to be at a disadvantage to get a job. Competencies aren't technical skills, but they are personal skills. They're the ability to relate to people. Emotional intelligence is the accuracy. It's the accuracy to identify, understand, and manage one's own emotional reactions. So, you know, it's how you react to other people. Do you get mad at other people? Do you get frustrated at other people? It's the ability for you to regulate your emotions. And then also it's how to regulate and maybe, I'll say manipulate, and it's not a bad thing, but to manipulate the emotion of others in order to relate, to solve problems, and engage in mutually successful experiences. So and you all know, in school here, you maybe have a friend or a student you know who's a leader, you know, and in this school, everybody looks to the leader. That leader probably has emotional intelligence and knows how to relate to people. So emotional intelligence is really important. And once you start identifying competencies, you realize, you know, these are things you can work on. Does anybody know what this picture is of? It's kind of a strange picture. So it's a banana flower. This is the male part of the flower, and then the bananas, or the female part, are actually up here, and they've just gotten pollinated. But anyway, banana plant. So integrity and trust, and this is really important. And this is when somebody is widely trusted, is seen as direct. You know, some people say one thing, but they mean another. Or they're not really straight shooters. But this is when you are a truthful individual, and you can present unvarnished truth in an appropriate, helpful manner. You keep the confidence. When somebody shares a secret with you, you don't go and tell everybody else. And so if you're a trusted person, people will come to you and confide in you. And as you get into a work situation, that's even more important, because there's a lot of competition at work situations, and people won't share with you if they don't feel they can have trust in you. But also in businesses, when you start dealing with money, you start dealing with people's lives, you start dealing with you know, the very stability of a business. Somebody wants to put that trust in you, and if you can't have integrity and trust, you will not go up in your career. You will stagnate. So learning agility is important, and I look for all of these things when we're hiring people. No matter if it's a janitor, a gardener, a director, anybody we hire, we look for these competencies. And it's sometimes hard to see these competencies until somebody's working for you. But then you start to realize, yeah, this person's a slouch. This person's not trustful. This person's not helping the team. And we may keep that person, or we may let them go. But there are people who are really quick and they learn, and those are the people we want to advance in our organization. But and this is probably one of the most important things that you can do in your life, is always be learning. So you have an opportunity now to learn. So when you get into a job, no matter what job you do, if you worked at McDonald's and you were working at a cash register, there is something for you to learn. And you can learn from, you could just learn from observing. You know, you look at the manager. What does the manager do? How does the manager spend his time? How does a McDonald's operate? Learning agility is you're open to change. You analyze both successes and failures. And you can learn from your failures. You don't always have to be successful. Learn from your failures. And then always try to find solutions. You know, when I work, I'm always looking, well, how can we do that better? Can we do that better? How can we improve upon it? And so if you're a relentless learner, you will advance. And then people will start coming to you for your advice. So action-oriented. Don't be fearful to act. If you always think about what you're going to do, but don't be fearful to act. But be willing to seize the opportunities that maybe others just let go by. Listening is important, and especially on your personal level, when you're even talking with your friends, or you're talking with when you start working, you talk to your coworkers. When you start talking to your boss, you better listen. But practice attentive and active listening, and then have the patience to hear what people say. Don't just kind of write people off. They start talking, and you kind of like, okay, I'm not going to listen. But actively, be attentive, and then also try to relate to people's opinions and ideas. And you have to weigh those, but you can't weigh that. You can't have any discernment unless you listen. And then have patience, and that's being tolerant with people and process. And sometimes people are slower than you. Sometimes they may be faster than you. But it's really good to be sensitive to the due process and proper pacing. So you have patience and too, sometimes people, you give them patience, you have patience with them, and then you have to balance that out. Sometimes it's when you're the boss, you have patience with people, but there's a certain point where you have to push people forward. Time management is important, and uses time effectively and efficiently. Values time. If you value, because the time you have here, this is an important time for you right now. This is an important time for you to be in school. This class is an important time. Get to the point. Get to what you need to do. Size up situations, especially when you're working. And you have a job. Don't let that job just go on and on and on. Get the job done as quick as you can. And all of these things, all of these competencies, if I see that in a person, I want to keep that person, and I want to advance that person. And these competencies, and there are a lot of other competencies out there, but I think it's something, all of these things you could be working on now in school. There's a lot of different jobs. I mean, starting out, we have somebody growing the plants in a nursery. And then we have gardeners who actually are planting the plants. But we have visitor services people who work behind the desk. The visitor services help the visitors who are coming there. They have questions. They sell memberships. We have memberships there. So if your family bought a membership there, it's like a pass, and you can come there every day of the year. We have people who come there almost every day just to sit and read or just to walk around. And it's a great place to get away from your problems. If you have, it's a beautiful place. And we have lots of places to walk around. It's a great date place. If you want to impress your girlfriend or boyfriend, take them to BOK Tower Gardens. But we have a children's garden educator, so we do a lot of education. We have a cafe. We have about 30 people who work in our cafe and our gift shop. We're always looking for people to work in our cafe and gift shop. If you want a job when you start working, come to BOK Tower Gardens. We always need people. And some of these positions, because they're lower paying entry-level positions, we have young people coming in, and then their life changes, they move away, and so they're coming and going. So we're always looking for folks. But we run a cafe. We have a marketing staff that manages social media. The two girls doing the filming here, social media. You can get jobs in social media. And they manage your social media like Facebook and Instagram, TikTok, YouTube videos. And this is all about education, and it's also about marketing. And marketing is about telling people out there who you are, what you are, to attract people. We have about 280,000 people a year come to BOK Tower Gardens. In how we get the word out is through marketing. And so we used to do a lot of television and print media. Now we do a lot of digital media. So it's and really, if you're in social media, there are so many businesses that are doing that. And so that's a good career track to be in. We do concerts. We have outdoor concerts, and we have a marketing person who sets our brand. So if you're in marketing, your brand is like, you got tennis shoes, and I see Nikes, they have a brand. And so that's something that people want to own. And so BOK Tower Gardens, we have a brand, and so we market it so people want to come to BOK Tower Gardens. They want to be a part of the gardens, and they want to be a member of the gardens. And this is how we raise revenue. We attract people, they pay admission, and they buy memberships. We have concerts. But we also have people who are scientists, plant scientists, working at the gardens. And they don't, and this is Cheryl Peterson. She doesn't meet with the public very much. She's a quiet person. She's not the outgoing person, but she's an excellent scientist on plant conservation. And then we have somebody who plays the bells, somebody who actually plays the bells. This is Geert de Hollander. And then we have people who are land managers. Does anybody like to light fires? All right, I love lighting fires. And I started the land management program at BOK Tower Gardens. So we actually burn the forest. We have a prescribed fire. We light the pine forest on fire. And then literally in about 4 months, you see this picture on the left here, the wildflowers come out. And this helps kill the weeds and encourage the wildflowers. But we have 2 land managers, and they work outside all the time. We have people in housekeeping, janitorial service, and they work in the tower and the visitor center. We have librarians, and we have museum curators. And these people have nothing to do with plants. They don't know anything about plants, but they are employed at BOK Tower Gardens. We do have teachers, and we have educators. And we have educators at a lot of different levels. We have maintenance staff who take care of the buildings. But we also have an accounting team, people who just work with numbers and finance. We have a fundraiser who's always going out and finding money, finding donors. We have a grant writer. We have a wedding coordinator, a volunteer manager, a computer specialist. And all of these make up our team. We have about 100 employees who work at the gardens, and only about a quarter of them, only about 25 of them actually work just with plants. So there's a lot of different jobs. And we're not unusual. A lot of companies are like this. And when you're trying to decide on a career, and you kind of think about working at this company or that company, there is just a wide range of jobs that you can get at companies. And so keep that in mind as you're thinking about your future. We also have 160 volunteers, and only about half of them work with plants. So we have volunteers. These are people who have retired, and they want to keep active. They want to keep their minds active. They want to keep their bodies active. We create places for them to participate in the gardens, and they give of their time freely. But my job, as a top person, my job is to keep the organization running smoothly, so keep it on track. And I work to hire good people, and I try to hire people who are smarter than me and like to do the jobs that I don't like to do. And my job is really to create the vision for the organization and to keep on the mission. So the vision for the organization is like, BOK Tower Gardens has been there 100 years, and that's a long time. And so in order for us to keep going in the direction and to think about new things and to keep relevant and to excite people like you to come here come to the gardens and to excite other people coming to the gardens. And there's a lot of competition for people's free time. Everybody, wants people's time, but how can we get people interested in the garden? And so I have to articulate a vision of what we want to be. And that vision, what we do is we create a strategic plan, and that's a 5-year strategic plan of what we want to be. And so our goals cost money. They take good people. They take the right people. And so in order to fulfill our strategy and achieve our vision, we've got to raise the money. We've got to, it's the business side. We've got to hire the right people. That's the business side. And then so that vision is a vision so that all the employees can embrace that. So everybody knows the direction we're going in. And then I mentioned, we make a strategy. And so for each of my departments, and I've got lots of departments that work on me. I've got horticulture, I've got facilities, philanthropy, fundraising, marketing and business, accounting, education, music, human resources. For each of my departments, I set goals for those departments. And we have a strategy with each of those people, how to achieve your goals. So that's about accountability. And so I have to hold all of my staff accountable. And that's really important. And if I have a person who is not accountable, they have to leave. I can't pay somebody if they're not going to be accountable. And that's something that each of you all need to know. When you get a job, accountability is so important. Now the things I do, this is a spreadsheet. This is just a page out of my budget. This is a budget worksheet, and we kind of make projections on what our attendance is going to be, how much money we're going to make, how much money we're going to spend, what the shortfall is, how much money we need to raise. And so a lot of my responsibility is to keep up with spreadsheets like this and keep up with the budget. I've got to watch that budget. And I can't spend more money than I make. I have to make more money than I spend, and that's really important. It's not my favorite thing to do. So I have hired a CFO. I have a chief financial officer, and so she loves doing spreadsheets like this. She does this all day long, 40 hours a week. I mean, she loves this, and I'm more on the creative side. But I had to learn this because I rose up, and I'm responsible for the business side of the gardens. And I do a lot of other things. I work with managing people. I do a lot of quality control. I have the greatest job in the world. I get tired at my desk, and I just get up and I walk in the gardens. And it drives my staff crazy because I'm always taking pictures of broken things. I do a lot of quality control. Fix this and fix that. I see the blinds back there. I'd have the maintenance man in here to fix those blinds, and I'm always looking around like, what's broken in here? And so I do a lot of quality control, and I like that. I'm an artist, and so I also do some design work in the garden. I enjoy that. The path I got there, I took a lot of different twists and turns to get there. Now I want to just shift gears totally, and this is a picture of me at 10 years old. Kind of a blurred picture, but that's me with my mother and my aunt and my father and brother. They took me to a garden, a public garden, when I was 10 years old. And I was just like amazed with this public garden, and fell in love with the place. And I said, "This is a great place." And they had sculpture at the garden, and I saw a sculpture like this, and I said, it's beautiful art. And I was just amazed as a child. And I said, I want to work in a public garden, and I want to do sculpture one day. And they had stone sculpture and bronze sculpture. And this sort of planted a seed in me. And so as a young child, I got involved in art. I was doing artwork. And so today, I'm doing artwork. And this is some of my art here. And you can see the alligator and the one in the picture. This is my newest piece. And actually, I made it a small piece, but I'm enlarging it. So it's going to be a 10-foot alligator. I've made other sculpture. This is my niece with the alligator I made. How many have seen this alligator at BOK Tower Garden? So I made that, and actually that piece is at the University of Florida in the library. So I make these pieces and I sell these. This is a business for me. So, and I've made tens of thousands of dollars on my artwork, and so this is my night job. This is my passion, what I do. I like working at BOK Tower. I like the design. I like the wild areas and the animals, and I like working with people. But really, when I come home at night, I'm like, I got a passion. I want to get into my studio and do art. And so here's my son, Stephen. He's 33 years old now, but he was helping me with the alligator. This is that alligator you saw before, that alligator. When it starts out, I make it, carve it out of foam, and then I put clay on it, and then have it cast, and it's actually metal bronze. And I do realistic work. There's a lot of detail in that, and I love watching animals. I love taking photographs of animals, and I love going outside. I love walking in the woods. This is a real passion. This is a lifestyle for me. And all of this has served me well in my job at BOK Tower Gardens because, You know, I have an eye for design, and I have an eye for art. And if you go to BOK Tower on the tower, you'll see a lot of carvings on the tower. These are some more of my sculptures. The sandhill cranes. Everybody, you see the sandhill cranes around here. There's a rabbit. There's some burrowing owls and swallowtail kite. These are beautiful birds. They're white with black wings and have a scissor tail. If you see them, they don't ever flap their wings. They just kind of sail. But I do a lot of photography of these. And I study animals. So I study live animals. I study dead animals. I look at skeletons. I look at pictures. So I really like to get into the biology of the animal. And then I'm able to sell these, and I show in galleries. I have art show sales. This is a piece I did. This is gopher tortoise with different animals that live in the gopher tortoise burrow. This is at Hammock Hollow at BOK Tower Garden. So I'm able to have my art in the garden too. And then we built a big bird's nest, and I wanted some eggs. And I was like, so I looked up, where can I buy eggs? And I couldn't find any eggs. So learning agility, I put that into my competency. I started looking up how to cast eggs or how to cast concrete. And I made a mold, and I figured out how to color the eggs. And so, you know, I had a lot of fun doing this. And I'm also, all the money I make on my art, I can buy all the toys I want with that money, because it's fun money for me. So I buy a lot of tools. But I just wanted to end and just say that always curious to learn. You work hard, you do your best, and you follow your passions. You're going to find work that is rewarding. Now is the time. You know, you seize the moment. You know, find your passions and go forward. So with that, I'm going to end, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. The alligator, the big alligator, took me about a year and a half. And all those little scales on it, I studied them, and I looked at pictures, and I did the scales, and I didn't like the way the scales did, and I did them again, and I did those scales 3 times on that big alligator until I finally got them right. But it's probably, you know, a year and a half. And a lot of that is just, I probably overanalyze it too much. I kind of look at, I'm a super realist, so I'm into the details. No, I was working, yeah, I have a job. I have a day job at the gardens, and this is my night job. So, yeah, you know, and I probably would spend, you know, 3-4 hours a day, you know, maybe 5 days a week. So, yeah, maybe, let's say 15 hours, you know, so maybe it would probably take me, if I did it full time, it would probably take me about 8 months. So do any of you all do artwork, doodles? That's where I started out. I was always doodling. That's all I did in class is doodle. I'd get in trouble for it. But I took notes with doodling, and so I would draw pictures instead of, and I'm not a great reader, you know, I'm not a fast reader, but I respond well to just pictures. And so, like all my classes, like I would make little drawings to remind me of what the class was about. You know, doodling is sort of the start of art. When you're doing doodling, it's to let your mind wander, and you're not so tied up with you know, how it's going to look. You just sort of get lost in that. But keep it up. And I'll also say this: if you like art, copy art. You know, go and look at a really nice painting, you know, by a famous person, and try to recreate that. And just keep copying stuff, and then pretty soon, every great artist copies other artists. Every great artist started out that way, and don't be afraid to copy people, because at a certain point you're going to take off and you're going to find your own way. No, I'm not musically inclined. I like music. I can't hear the notes. My wife is a great musician. She's made several albums. She writes her own music. She plays the fiddle, mandolin, and guitar, and I just sit there and listen. But if you play music, you know, keep doing that, because I regret that I didn't take music when I was young. Humans, we need to express ourselves. You need to feel special some way, because if you can't be special, you're just like all the rest. You're just a commodity. You're just kind of one of the masses of people. But when you do art, it's your own emotion. Nobody can take that away from you.